violence and other kind of violence.
Get away! I could be at work, in school, in my car, I can still get shot by the police. I can get shot anywhere.
So it is what it is.
What's good, YouTube? It's the Black Gen Z Mindset. Make sure you go ahead and like, comment, share, subscribe. Let's get into the video.
Breaking news right now, 2 children are shot in a span of 12 hours in Detroit.
The first happened overnight when a 14-year-old girl was killed at the Riverfront Towers.
Woo! Detroit is getting busy, y'all. We've seen a lot happen in Detroit throughout this year, and it's only getting worse. You got a 14-year-old girl shot and a 12-year-old boy shot.
Off of Jefferson in downtown Detroit. The second happened this afternoon when a 12-year-old boy was shot in a neighborhood near 8 Mile in Shaner. That's on the city's east side. Victor Williams is live on the east side. And Victor, police just left the scene there. What do we know?
Yeah, Sandra and Pamela, this entire area was blocked off while investigators did just that, investigating this entire situation. Police are saying that this is happening way too often.
That's wild. It's a whole bunch. All of this in one day. Man.
In just the last few hours, Detroit has seen not 1, but 2 children shot, with one of those incidents being fatal.
The shooting of the children in the community is it's a lot. It's a lot, and it's hurtful. See how our young boys and girls getting killed out here in the street.
Yeah, they're getting killed by other young boys and girls. Okay? These super gremlins are on demon time.
First teen, a 14-year-old girl, was shot at Riverfront Towers in an apartment full of teenagers at 4:10 a.m. Sunday morning.
We had 6 males in a house, 3 females. There was some gunplay, messing with a gun. The gun goes off, and a 14-year-old tragically lost her life.
According to Assistant Police Chief Charles Fitzgerald with DPD, the boys inside took off after realizing what happened. Fast forward to a
cowards.
few hours later at 2:20 p.m. Sunday afternoon, and a 12-year-old is shot by his 14-year-old brother only 9 miles away.
It's just terrible.
Apparently, while the brothers were pushing this go-kart, they claimed to have spotted a wild dog, and in response, the 14-year-old pulled out an Uzi and accidentally shot his younger brother in.
What the heck? A 14-year-old got a Uzi? Yo. This is... Detroit is different.
Instead, you can still see shell casings on the ground.
Senseless. Not sure why a 14 or a 12-year-old have a Uzi-style weapon in their possession for any reason.
The 12-year-old was shot in the ankle and is now in stable condition. But with so much violence going on not only in the city but in our entire country, this is just another example on how firearms continue to remain a hot topic. In this instance, it's the parents that may potentially be facing charges for how the kids got their hands on an Uzi in the first place.
Yes, thank God. Let's start charging these super gremlins' parents. Sisters, come get your kids.
But just the fact that he had it, and he had that in his possession from someone, we know he didn't go to the store and buy it, so someone gave it to him.
The good question of where these teenagers getting these weapons from and how they getting access to them. Because it seems like the parents is never there to know what their children are doing and who they're hanging around.
And police are saying at this point they cannot find that dog that was mentioned earlier. Here at Local 4, we'll be keeping you guys updated on any new developments. On the east side, Victor Williams, Local 4.
Thanks, Lori. As the Detroit Police Department continues to mourn fallen officer Loren Courts, we are learning more about the young man who killed him and his law-breaking past.
And as Fox News' Jessica Dupnack tells us, those in law enforcement regret that he remained on the streets and was free to fire that deadly shot.
You wish that you can help somebody. You wish, as a police officer in this career field, that you could direct somebody down the right path. Clearly, that wasn't the case for him. We couldn't help him, unfortunately. And now one of our brothers is gone because of it.
Admittedly, East Point Police Lieutenant Robert Koenigsman would rather be talking about fallen Detroit police officer Loren Courts, not the suspect who murdered him. 19-year-old Ehmani Davis, the shooter, is known as a regular to East Point PD with a...
Wow. And he actually looks Blasian, okay? That's black and Asian. These super Rice Gremlins are on demon time.
A rap sheet starting at just 11 years old.
He got a ticket for driving without a license, or allegedly driving without a license, I should say.
As an 11-year-old.
As an 11-year-old, yeah.
A 4-year gap in his criminal history, then a barrage of offenses.
There were a couple of different disorderly conduct type runs, family troubles.
He was actually supposed to appear in court Friday on one of those disorderly charges, the most serious of allegations against Davis in June. The call went out on the police scanner of shots fired into a crowd at a prom party in East Point.
Callers down the street from a prom party, so people were running from the party, and then you heard some shots go off.
So these are the super gremlins who are shooting up the prom parties and the graduation parties. Ridiculous.
No one was shot, but a handgun was recovered near the scene. Investigators believe Davis shot into that crowd. No charges were brought against him yet. The Macomb County Prosecutor's Office was waiting on a ballistic analysis and other evidence before signing off on a 4-count felony warrant against Davis.
We wanted to send it out and have the state police look at some evidence that needed to be looked at before any charges were issued. And as a result of his death that had happened yesterday, it appears that there may be a closure of this file.
During the time between that June shooting and his death, Davis bought the Draco pistol that killed Officer Courts in an ambush-style attack. It's unclear if it was purchased legally.
Unfortunately, maybe he went down the wrong path and ended up where he's at now, unfortunately.
Prosecutor Lucido says this is one of several cases that have gotten hung up, along with the additional evidence that they required. He also said there is a lack of staff in his office that are causing delays. Jessica Dupnack, Fox 2 News.
We are also uncovering new information into this shooter and his criminal past.
He is 19-year-old Ehmani Davis, and he's had other run-ins with the law. Karen Drew is digging into his background. So, Karen, what else have you found?
Well, it's disturbing, Kim and Devin. I've been able to dig up some very disturbing information on the 19-year-old. It deals again with weapons. I've uncovered 2 incidents in East Point. Let me bring you back. It starts in January of last year. He was charged with a weapons offense of improper possession in or upon a motor vehicle. So get this, he pleads guilty. He gets 12 months probation and an
Wow, 12 months probation and an $850 fine. They just letting these super gremlins walk, bro. That's really what it is.
$15 fine, if I can correct that graphic, $815 fine. Okay, that's back then. Now, sources telling me Davis was also involved in a situation June 9th in East Point, so just about a month ago. He was arrested on weapons charges again, still trying to dig exactly into what happened on June 9th. I can tell you, a warrant was brought to the Macomb County Prosecutor's Office. That was brought June 21. It was in relation to what happened in East Point. They were seeking 4 counts: reckless use of a weapon, carrying concealed weapon, felony firearm, tampering of evidence. Now, from what I've been able to uncover, some of that evidence was actually sent to the Michigan State Police Crime Lab. We do know we've reported on delays there. They were waiting to hear back from the crime lab. I did talk to Peter Lucido, the Macomb County prosecutor, late this afternoon. He told me the protocol and procedures were followed. There was no dropping the ball. Lucido then went on to say it takes time to get a warrant signed. They need to go through the information and the evidence. I asked about that June 9th incident, if an AK-47 type of weapon was used in that case. He said no.
And that's the Draco.
I'm still doing more digging. I think there might be something else to report on this. My sources are sharing information. Everyone's upset about the way this has been handled. I'll let you know when I learn more. Back to you.
Okay. All right, Karen, thank you. And as Karen said, today has been a raw and emotional day for the entire community, especially the tight-knit members of the police department.
I'm here on the corner of MLK and Frederick Douglass, where a shooting just took place. And as you can see, it's a pretty rough area. So I'm basically risking my life reporting on this madness. So make sure you do me a favor and hit the subscribe button. Like the video, hell, share the video. And make sure you go ahead and leave a comment down in the comments section to continue the discussion on how we can find solutions to all this son violence in the streets. I'm Jenquavius Jackson, here live, reporting from Atlanta, Georgia, BGZM News 17.
Loren Courts was certainly a hero to his family, his wife, and his 2 kids, but he was making a difference in his 5 years with the Detroit Police Department.
He had recently received a citation for arresting a murder suspect and finding the murder weapon. His death was senseless, as we learn more about the young man who took his life. Jason Colthorpe is at the East Point Police Department, where they know an awful lot about him. Jason.
They do, Kim, and police say 19-year-old Ehmani Davis may have wanted to die when he started shooting at police, and it could be because of his recent run-ins with the law, and that included an imminent arrest from an outstanding warrant.
And see, a lot of people discount this self-deletion by cop maneuver that a lot of these super gremlins are doing now, because they feel like they're under pressure and they can't live with themselves, and they get into a little trouble and they think it's the end of the world, when in all actuality the system is spitting them out, continues to keep spitting them out. So they choose to go out this way, except this time he took out a black officer, and with no shame. These super Rice Gremlins are on demon time.
Ehmani Davis was definitely on police's radar. His recent timeline of trouble starts January 4th, 2021, with an arrest in East Point for improper possession of a firearm in a vehicle. Davis got a year probation and paid a fine. Then May 30th of this year, East Point police responded but did not make an arrest. The charge is described in court documents as family offenses. A misdemeanor arrest warrant request was made, and a source says it was approved and currently outstanding. Davis was arrested June 9th in East Point on 3 weapons allegations, including felony firearm in connection to a drive-by shooting. Then, Wednesday, July 6th, shots fired from a window above the De Jour Salon on Joy Road at a Dodge Caravan. After the Dodge speeds off, Detroit police show up minutes later investigating shots fired, and Officer Loren Courts' scout car is ambushed.
Wow.
Chief James White says Courts' partner Amanda Hutchins tried to save his life as the bullets continued flying.
She makes the decision to give her partner a chance to live, keeping her back to the assailant. I've never seen anything like that.
Officers shot and killed Davis as he came down the stairs and onto the street.
He was without a doubt a hero. And you're going to hear that over and over and over again because it's important. We spend too much time talking about non-heroes.
Court's father, who retired from DPD after 32 years on the job, echoed that same sentiment.
Right now I'm trying to concentrate on his kids, my grandkids, the family, my wife.
Shout out to the family. Shout out to this brother, man. When policing your own goes wrong. I mean, we talk about policing our own. We talk about, well, we don't want no white officers in it. And then when you have black officers in the community putting their lives on the line, standing up courageously for what's right, justice, law and order, you have a super fried Rice Gremlin on demon time who cuts his life short.
Now, I know there's some confusion about Davis's past and that timeline. Let me try and clear it up a little bit. I spoke to Macomb County Prosecutor Pete Lucido tonight, who said regarding that drive-by shooting on June 9th, his office got the warrant request on June 22nd. It usually takes about 10 days to write up those, and he said his office had not signed off on it yet, simply because they needed to do more investigating. Specifically, they didn't have a witness tying Davis to the gun in that incident or pulling the trigger. However, they were able to take that gun off the street. Now, on May 30th, that warrant request, Lucido says, was never at his office, most likely because it was just a misdemeanor and had probably gone through the city of East Point. Kim?
Well, I don't understand. Do we know why he hadn't been picked up yet on the outstanding warrant?
We don't. We also don't know when it was issued, which is important because it's probably gone through the city of East Point. Kim?
Well, I don't understand. Do we know why he hadn't been picked up yet on the outstanding warrant?
Because sisters demanded that he not be picked up. You got criminal justice reform, bail reform, the racist criminal justice system holding the brother down, holding them back, and all this BS. Defund the police. They give him chance after chance after chance. Gets hit with probation. Gets bond. Has to pay a fine. After these violent crimes, these violent incidents. And look what he does with the chances that he's giving. The multiple chances that he was given.
We also don't know when it was issued, which is important because almost certainly it hadn't been issued by June 9th, which was 10 days later. Had it, the officers that were involved in investigating that drive-by would have known he had that outstanding warrant, would have been able to pick him up. But because it was just a misdemeanor, probably there was no urgency in apprehending him at that time, Kim.
Yeah. All right, Jason.
The Macomb County prosecutor tells us he did not know cop killer Ehmani Davis had already died when he issued 4 criminal charges against him just yesterday. Following our interview, we came here to District Court in East Point to get more records. But they tell us they did not receive any charging documents, and East Point police say the same thing. In a sit-down interview, Prosecutor Pete Lucido discussing his office's review of a June 9th East Point shooting incident that led to the arrest of 19-year-old Ehmani Davis, the same man police in Detroit shot and killed July 6th after he shot and killed DPD officer Loren Courts. Today, Lucido says on June 9th, witnesses did not ID Davis as a shooter who'd fired into a crowd of people, contrary to prior information.
The reality is we didn't have enough for the AWIM, which is assault with intent to murder when you're shooting into a crowd.
But Lucido says on June 21st, a warrant request by East Point police did come in and was granted a day later on the 22nd for gun possession. Yet Davis was not in custody as a 9mm handgun he allegedly ditched was being analyzed at a crime lab.
Wow. Someone looks at this and says, well, June 21st, there was a warrant request, yet he was still on the street. What would you say?
That's a true statement. It may take time. This is not something you drive through a window and go ahead and receive the warrant.
Yeah, and I mean, he's right. It takes time. You get the warrant. They have to execute a time where they can arrest him. They got to figure out logistic, like where he's going to be at. And he just committed this heinous crime way too soon before they could pick him up. But they probably were going to let him out again, honestly. But when it comes to this warrant, they wouldn't have even been able to perform a no-knock warrant because the community is crying and begging that the police don't perform no-knock warrants. Okay? And if they would have done a no-knock warrant and he would have came bussing and they would have had to take him out, there would be protests in the street. There would. So you can't win for losing.
And have a judge sign it to go arrest somebody. In this case, there was still investigations going on.
Fast forward to yesterday, July 7th, when Lucido says his office filed 4 counts against Davis, who had died one day prior. The charges included felonies of carrying a concealed weapon, tampering with evidence, firearm possession, and misdemeanor reckless use. Lucido says he did not know Davis was dead when they filed more charges yesterday. Later by phone, he added both police and the courts had no charging files because, soon after learning of his passing, they declined to move further with the case.
That's correct.
As for the amount of time it took to bring additional charges on July 7th, Lucido says Davis's case was treated like many others involving a gun without injury or death.
The process in the prosecutor's office is first in, first out, unless it is a homicide.
The prosecutor adds that a lack of staffing in his warrants division continues to be an issue, and he says Davis's warrant request was one of a number still waiting for processing. From East Point, Simon Shaquette, 7 Action News.
Gang violence and other kind of violence. So it is what it is.